Imagine for a second the stones of the ancient temple, gleaming in the sunlight, gold reflecting fire from heaven, priests moving through sacred courts, and offerings filling what was known as the storehouse of God. But today, well, the temple is gone. And that brings up a really critical question, one that a lot of us wrestle with, sometimes pretty quietly. If the temple, which was the absolute center for giving in the Old Testament, doesn't exist anymore, where is God's storehouse today?
Think about it. The altar, which was once the very heart of worship and sacrifice, that meeting point between God and humanity, it's now silent.
That entire system of sacrifices, the very system that defines so much of how people approach God, it's over.
And so, this quiet question starts to bubble up in our hearts today. If the temple isn't standing anymore, where does God want our offerings to go now?
To really get the answer, we have to go back. We need to understand the world of that vanished temple. It was, without a doubt, the absolute center of life and worship.
We know what's fascinating is just how concrete giving was back then. It wasn't some abstract spiritual idea. No, it had clear physical jobs to do. It supported the Levites, the priestly tribe that didn't have any land, it maintained the actual temple building itself, and it even worked as a kind of social safety net, caring for widows, orphans, and strangers in need.
But the temple was so much more than just a building that needed funds. It was seen as the literal place where heaven touched earth. This means giving wasn't just about paying bills, it was about participating in the very system God had set up for His presence to dwell among His people.
And this really reveals the ultimate purpose of that whole system. It was a shadow, a physical picture that was pointing toward a spiritual reality, something so much greater that was still on its way. And this leads us to maybe the most pivotal shift in all of history, the moment God's dwelling place moved from a building made of stone to a people filled with faith. One day, Jesus walks into Jerusalem and starts talking about a temple that would be destroyed and then raised again in just 3 days. Of course, the religious leaders were furious. They thought he meant the physical building. But the scripture makes it clear he was speaking about his own body. He was the reality that the temple was just a shadow of.
I mean, the contrast is just incredible. The old temple, it was made of stone, it was stuck in one location, and it was a shadow. But the new temple, which is Christ, and through him, his church, is made of living people. It's global, and it is the reality.
So after Jesus' death and resurrection, this profound shift happens. The Spirit of God no longer dwelled in a single building. Instead, the Spirit came to rest in people. The church became a collection of living stones, not a place you go to, but a people God lives inside of.
And right here, this is where so much of our modern confusion kicks in. We kind of find ourselves caught in this conflict between covenants, a tension between the old system of law and the new reality of grace.
And this tension creates two competing voices that you hear a lot. First, you have the voice of law, which insists, if you don't tithe, you are cursed, basically trying to drag and drop the old system into today. But then you get the voice of reaction, which, often coming from a place of hurt, says, well, if grace is real, then I don't owe anything at all.
But what if both of these sides are actually missing the deeper story? You see, the new covenant didn't get rid of generosity. It purified it. It completely changed the why behind our giving.
The early church, they show us a totally different way. They didn't give because they were scared of a curse or felt obligated. They gave because they had met the risen Christ. Their giving fueled a movement. It supported people working for the gospel. It fed the poor, it sent out missionaries, and it carried the message of the kingdom all across the earth.
And this just nails the fundamental shift. The purpose of giving was no longer about maintaining a building. It was now about advancing a kingdom.
So this brings us to right now, to today. In this stage of the church, our giving isn't a payment we make to get a blessing. It's participation. Participation in the mission of God.
Today, there's no temple tax. There's no legalistic tithe demanded by Moses. Instead, the offerings we give in grace, they flow toward things like the teaching of Scripture, the care of those who are suffering, the sending of the gospel, and the strengthening of the church as God's family.
And this just reframes the entire question for us, doesn't it? It's no longer how much have to give. Instead, it becomes, how can my life reflect the incredible, over-the-top generosity of Christ? And this is where our conscience becomes holy, not forced, not manipulated, but genuinely transformed by grace.
This actually connects our giving today to our future hope. In a very real way, our giving becomes a little glimpse of the kingdom to come. It becomes a kind of prophecy.
Every single faithful act of giving becomes a quiet prophecy. It's a sign that we believe this world, as it is right now, is not our final home. It's a testimony that Christ is building something eternal, and we actually get to be a part of it.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The temple is gone, but Christ, the true and final temple, he stands forever. And wherever his people give in love, his kingdom quietly grows.
So what part of this whole journey challenged you the most? Was it really understanding the original temple? Or maybe seeing the model of the early church? Or was it considering how our giving today points toward Christ's future kingdom? Just take a moment to reflect on that and stay grounded in his grace.